How did that lead to the event or the opportunity to lead the South African Orchestra?
Well, when they invited him back, which was a year before Mandela was elected as president, they wanted to do a concert in a building where, because of apartheid, he had never been able to go in just as an observer. So there was an effort being made there to try to undo, some 40, 50 years of injustice to people in that country, because it's a misconception. Although, and I don't want to simplify this at all. Black people in South Africa did suffer from apartheid, but the country as a whole suffered from the violence and the victimology of racism, because that door does swing both ways. Those wounds have to be healed, because that's a country now that's 10 years into that transition. But several steps were made consciously by people in government, people who cared about the arts, people who were involved in that symphony orchestra, to honor what is South Africa's premier composer. So, because I had been working with him as his musical director, he mentioned that this was being done and said, I want you to write the arrangements and conduct the orchestra. So immediately my thinking, man, is, writing these charts, making sure the notes are right, rehearsing everybody. I didn't think about the fact that had not been done there, or the political aspects of it or anything. So we get there, we start rehearsing, and I'm standing in front of the orchestra, and I see a few people reading books, and sometimes folks are talking during the breaks when we're rehearsing. And I said, well, I don't really think this is a color thing, so let me break through this really quick, because there were no black people in the orchestra at all. They're not just South Africans, they're people from other countries. So we did a tune where I was featured and I played, and then after that, the whole dynamic with the orchestra changed entirely. And what I realized is that they didn't know me at all, and musicians talk to other musicians by the way we play. So after you hear somebody play, then you know what time it is. So now everybody's listening, and then in the breaks they're coming up and talking and kicking it, and it was an incredible experience, because things that they realized that they could learn from a musician. My appearance to them when I came in, I was a jazz musician, so they didn't know whether I knew anything about conducting or whatever. And so after that, I made some comments to the violins that they weren't born with the other violins, and talked about some stuff, and they realized that I actually did know something about music, about classical music, and in particular. So once that was the first day of rehearsal, first couple of hours of rehearsal. So we had a chance to do some things different, where one of the percussion players did some improvising on the timpani drums, and I started merging the way that we work with things jazz-wise with the way they're accustomed to working with things classically. Where, okay, this section's going to be open. This guy's going to take a solo. I'll cue y'all back in. But it's not going to be always 36 measures. It might be, if he gets hot, it might be 40 measures. And that's something that they were completely kind of, so you have to watch his cue. And then if he does this little thing and plays, and he starts to get a little happy and dance, we're going to let him go a little longer, because that's part of the tradition. And for me, for people to come up and say, I've never done anything like this before, and it was really great working with you, that was some next level kind of stuff. So the night of the gig, I'm getting ready for it. The stage manager comes in and said, well, we almost canceled this concert last week because Christopher Honey, who was a high-ranking ANC official, was assassinated, and we felt that there could be incidents. So we have no way of knowing who may come to this gig tonight, and there's security, but anything could happen. So if you would feel more comfortable wearing a bulletproof vest, we have one. So, I'm sitting there with a score open, man. I'm looking at notes and practicing conducting patterns and all this. This cat's talking to me about wearing a bulletproof vest. So I'm like, well, man, those things are kind of heavy, and I've got to weigh my arms. I hadn't slept in 3 or 4 days. And I'm going to get up and conduct an orchestra with a bulletproof vest on. So I said, no, you know what, man? If this is it, if this is how I go out, then this is how I go out. He says, well, when you're standing here like this, man, you're a target. You realize that, right? I said, yeah, but I've been a target since I decided to be a musician. So let's go and play. The gig was great. It was nationally televised all over South Africa. The next day I went to a flea market with one of the TV not personalities, but one of the TV producers, and I ran into some people there who had seen it on TV and came up and spoke about it. And I'm like, okay, you saw it? This was last night. Yeah, we saw the whole thing, and my whole family watched it. And these were not black families, right? My whole family watched it, and we just thought it was incredible. It was really nice to meet you. Now I'm like this, you know, at a flea market with a hat on and some sunglasses and all of that, man. And these people came up out of the blue. So then it hit me that this was something in their country that was completely new, completely different. You know, I've never conducted a symphony orchestra in America, probably never will. But I got to do it there, so that's cool.